Hi there, everybody. I'm hoping you can hear me. I hope that I'm now streaming to you. If you can hear me okay, if this is working, can you type in the chat box for me? Let me know. Let me know that I have sound, we have vision, we have everything you require. And fingers crossed, this is working. This is my first ever live stream. So, I hope it's working. So can you just type in the chat box somebody to let me know that you can see me, hear me, it's working. Thank you, Sheila. Wonderful. Because otherwise I'd be talking to an empty room and that would not be very helpful, would it? Excellent. Thank you, everybody. I know there's a time delay. You always get a time delay with these as well. So I think you probably get it about 9 seconds after I say it. So, yeah. Well, thank you all for being here to my first ever live stream, live question answer session on mediumship and development. So the idea is that I'm going to come online regularly, hopefully once a month, and do this class, do this session. You can ask me any questions you have about mediumship, about development, and we work our way through them. We'll sort our way through them, and hopefully we'll run for about an hour and a half if there's enough questions, less if there's not. If there's too many questions, might have to extend it slightly. So we shall work it out. Good. So basically then so how it works for me is obviously I can see your questions appear in the chat box, and so I will work with them. There is super chat enabled. If anyone knows what super chat is a YouTube thing that enables people to do a super chat basically, which costs a bit of money, but you are able to, if you ask any questions through super chat, I will give priority to those questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to work consistently through the questions one by one. That's the idea. So if you want to support the channel as well, you can donate to the channel through PayPal. There is a link at the very top of the chat box. At the very top of the chat box, you'll see there is a link up there that enables you to click on a link through my PayPal account. As I say, you can also donate through Super Chat as well if you wish. Any donations are much appreciated and will go towards help build and grow the channel. I'm sure many of you are aware that I also have a huge number of videos. Well, I say a huge number, not compared to some people, probably not that huge, but probably 40 odd videos as well on my YouTube channel. I would say as well, do subscribe to the channel. Do hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and you'll get notification of all my videos when they go live. You'll also get information on these live chats as well, and you'll get notification when we do those as well. That's the idea. So to get started then, so it's lovely to see where everyone's from. It's lovely to see it from all over the place, as always, as I expect. It's lovely that you can come from so far. So yeah, so the idea is ask me a question and we can get started. So first question from Maria. How do you stop getting emotional during a reading? You have to train yourself to stay out of the emotion. As a good medium should never be affected or impacted by the emotion of a sitting. So we train ourselves to stay out of it. I also trained as a therapist myself. I'm a trained hypnotherapist. And as a therapist, you cannot get emotional. So we have to train ourselves to do something called dissociation, to recognize that we can't get emotional. So we have to detach from our own emotions, a process we call dissociation. So that's what you have to learn to do. When we're working as a medium, obviously we're in the middle of spirit bringing their emotion and the recipient's emotion, but we have to sidestep it. We have to move to the side and stay out of it. Through time, we can learn to do that. Through time, we can learn to move ourselves out of the way. But initially, yes, it can be hard. And even as an experienced medium, it's still possible to get caught out by the emotion. It's been a while since I was last caught out, but certainly I was working platform for quite a number of years, and occasionally I could get caught out by it if it was a profoundly emotional connection. But when I say get caught out by it, meaning I would feel the emotion build within me and I would think, aha, out the emotion. No one would have visibly saw me get emotional on the platform. That's the point. But the point is I could see the emotion beginning to build within me, and I would recognize that I have to move out of it as well. So basically, you have to figure out for yourself how to do it. Dissociation is the key. Thank you for the lovely words people are saying. Very highly appreciated. Do I have plans to do a smaller dozen or so class on mediumship, including practice and teaching? Simple answer is, for the time being, no. And I'll tell you why. Because for me, my preference, what I like to do is I like to teach classes which can reach as many people as possible. There are a lot of people out there who offer practice sessions. Oh, I've frozen. So for a second there, I'd frozen. I could see on the live that it looked like it had frozen. So what I was saying is there's a lot of people out there who offer practice sessions. There's a lot of people out there who give you opportunities to practice. So for me, there's so many people doing that. But what my passion is bringing teachings that can help as many people as possible. You know, if this class today, I don't know how many is listening to me right now. I guess there's about 50 people watching me, listening to me. If on YouTube this can reach another 100 or 1,000, that would be fabulous. So my aim is to take teachings to as many people as possible. So for the time being, I'm not planning. I can't say never, but for the time being, it's not something I'm planning, because I'm also trying to write a book as well. I also run my my other courses that I do through my own website. So there's a lot of different things I'm trying to juggle, and there's just not really the time. I'm also heavily involved in running a church as well, a spiritualist church. So there's a lot of things we have to balance. So sadly, I would love to be able to do that at some stage, but it's not going to happen in the near future. Jenny, what can we do to recognize the relationship of the spirit to the sitter? Also, any tips for recognizing names? Okay, so for a second there, I had some more technical gremlins where we froze briefly. It looks like it has come back to life again. I was just about to, I have a backup camera as well. We can flick onto if anything goes wrong. So I was just about to push the button for the backup camera, but it looks like it came back in time. So we were talking about recognizing relationship of a sitter and names. Now at this point, I will do a quick plug. I am currently running a course called Getting Better Evidence. I'll just pull it up on the screen and see if you can see that. Getting Better Evidence online course. We've done one class, 3 more to go, and it's all focused. The entire course, 4 sessions, 2 hours long, is all focused upon this exact topic. How to get the evidence, a deep dive into the evidence, how we can understand the different types of evidence, how it works for you. So let me come back onto me again. Here we go. So with relationship, there's a number of ways you can get relationship, and often people feel the relationship, but when you feel a relationship, it's like you're feeling how close somebody is depending upon so it looks like we have a slight issue. So can I just check you can all see and hear me still okay? Because YouTube, something's just popped up telling me there's an issue with my stream. I don't know what that means. So I'm hoping you can hear this. I'm hoping you can still see this. If anyone could just type in the chat box and let me know, because I would hate to be talking to myself. That's not much fun on a live stream, is it? Good, you can still hear me. Good. So fingers crossed this will keep going, I'm hoping. Excellent. So, yeah, I was talking about relationship, how it works with relationship. So we can experience, sense how somebody is and if they're, what the relationship is. Is it close? Is it mum? Is it dad? Is it, you know, how does it feel towards them? Is it motherly feel, fatherly feel? What generation is it? Up and down. We sense that generation up and down, same generation. If you've ever done a family tree, you can sense within the family tree where it is. Okay, so I'm going father's side. So to get mother or father, you can basically, with mother or father, you can get a glimpse of your own mother or father to work out which side it is. Then you can feel whether you're moving up within the level, the next level. You can, if you know about family trees, it's almost like you're getting spirit to guide you through a family tree. You can ask to be shown in your own mind who this is in your own family, which works very well if you know and have that same relation. If you do not have that same relation, it's a little bit more challenging. So if you don't have that person in your family, then the spirit can't help you work with it. So spirit will use whatever information we have. So those are some examples through which you can get relationship. But also you can just ask to, if you can, like, you can sense it written out. If you're very visual, father, cousin. It gets hard with second cousins. And then the other problem I have as well is I often feel motherly when it's a stepmother or when it's a mother-in-law. So the mother-in-law bit, generally if I don't feel the person knew them at the beginning of their lives, I go in-law. But other than that, it's a bit harder. It's like a mother but not a mother, and it's hard. I did a demonstration that you will see on my YouTube channel if you want to see me work, and that exact thing happened then. I got the feeling it's like a father but not quite like a father. It's your father but it's not your father. I can't really work out which way it's going, but it was stepfather. So that's how it works. And then names is a real challenge. I'll tell you why names is a challenge, because unless your mediumship is developed enough, then you won't necessarily be able to get the name. Because if the name, it looks like it's hung again and it's back again. So yeah, if you're not developed enough to understand the name, most mediums do not have strong clairaudience. That's the problem. So if you don't have strong clairaudience, then it's going to be a challenge for you to receive the information. That's important to recognize. So if you don't have strong clairaudience, then basically you're having to work through your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, and just a clairknowing. So if the name was a simple name and we could be got across within an image, you can get an image that gives you the name. But if it's much more complex and you could only hear it or get it by seeing it written out, then it's a lot harder. So I will be going into names in a great deal of detail, but for me, names is not easy. And if it was easy, all mediums would be able to do names, and they don't. So if it was easy, everyone could do it, but I don't see a huge number of mediums doing names routinely. Now, also do check out my Gordon Higginson tribute page on Facebook and the website that I have as well. I uploaded a fascinating transcript of Gordon, where he did a test demonstration and they recorded all his evidence verbatim. And what they did with that was, having recorded all the evidence verbatim, you get to see how he gets it and the level of detail he gets, which is phenomenal. But you must remember, Gordon was a very strong clairaudient medium and he was hearing it. And sometimes he would hear names and information which wasn't being understood by the sitter, but came back later and was placed. So it's like he was hearing more than one communicator at once. And some parts weren't fitting that person, but came back later. Definitely worth checking out if you want to see how good clairaudient mediumship works. Okay. Next question, where was I? Can you tell us about your own unfoldment? That is a massive topic. Thanks for the question, Tony. What I will do is I will make a short video for YouTube about how I came to mediumship. There are some interviews with me on YouTube already that you will find I've done with various people where I talk about my own unfoldment. So if you want to get it first, you can check out some of the interviews and you'll find it there. Eric, how far do you visualize extending your energy to link with spirit? Example, 3 foot versus filling the room. Now, I don't visualize extending my energy to fill the room. I know that extending my energy to fill the room is a byproduct of me connecting to the spirit world. We sometimes talk about with connecting to spirit that it's a visualization. You imagine filling everyone within the audience within your energy, like putting them within a net and filling the whole room. But for me, if it's mediumship, you should be thinking about filling the whole room. But actually, as we make a very strong connection to spirit, your energy fills the entire room. So I personally don't visualize filling the room, but I know that that's a powerful tool in the early stages of developing and building mediumship to do that. So it's a highly useful technique. But if you're doing it with an audience of people, whole room, if you're doing it with a sitter, imagine enfolding the sitter, but don't go in psychically. Hold your focus to spirit. I just upload a video onto YouTube last couple of days. Difference between the psychic and mediumistic link. How do I know it's from spirit? How do I know it's psychic? And I was talking about holding your focus with spirit. Check that one out. That's what you need to do. Absolutely. Question, when you hear talk and chat in the middle of the night, how can you nicely put a stop to it or join in on the conversation? Are they just passing by or there for a reason? I've never had that experience. It's hard for me to answer. I never deny anybody their own experiences. I can see it looks like it's briefly froze. I never deny anybody their own experiences. What you experience is for you. Think about it logically though. Spirit should not come to you unless you've invited them. So simply put, I would ask spirit not to come to me when it's not the right time. Strict discipline is key. If you go looking for it, you'll find it. But if you don't, I would strictly have the discipline that I don't go looking ever to connect to spirit unless I'm doing a sitting or unless I'm doing a demonstration or unless I'm teaching in an environment where I need to connect. I never would look at any other time. So that's important to recognize. So I'm just going to see if I can change the setting because it looks like it's still having some challenges. I don't know if I'm allowed to change any settings on the hoof. I don't know if it likes me doing that, and I don't think it, but we'll have a go. It's worth a go. See if this check makes any difference. I've just dropped the stream rate that I'm uploading at in the hope that it will help, but we'll see. Fingers crossed it might. So yeah, so with the question of hearing voices, hearing, you know, for me, it doesn't make sense for spirit to do that. If it's your own guides and helpers, tell them no. Set the time when you're happy to sit, you're happy to receive, you're happy to work. But if it's happening outside of that, tell them off. That's what I would say, because they shouldn't be doing it. How do you handle it if you have a clear link with spirit, detailed info, and your sitter doesn't recognize it? Yes, I tried a conversation. Hey, she doesn't recognize you. Okay, so basically you get information from a spirit communicator. The sitter doesn't recognize it. One of two things. Well, one of a multitude of things, a stack of things. In fact, there are a huge number of reasons why sitters say no to you. I do have a teaching video about that, which is called Mediumship Class 8 Problems Within Mediumship. If you really want to get into the detail of it, go check out that video, one of my videos. But basically, if you're working with a sitter and you've got information they do not understand, it may be somebody they cannot remember. That's the first point. Somebody they can't remember. So what I would then do is I would ask for information about what I call a common denominator, somebody you both know. So this person can tell you about your mum, it connects to your mum and knows all about your mum. So yeah, go ask mum or go ask someone on that side of the family to get it placed. That's what we would want. But if that's not the case and we can't find any information that helps that, it's possible you have a connection that doesn't belong to them. First point is, have you asked for spirit who connect to your sitter, or just have you opened up to any random spirit? So that's a key point to bear in mind. Always ask for somebody for your sitter. That's the key point first. If it's not being understood and you ask them and they don't understand it, you could be getting some of the evidence, some of the information wrong. They could be a real a real skeptic who needs the information just so, but provide they're a normal person and they're giving you the benefit of the doubt. I always point out a good medium never gets everything 100%. Generally, I would hope to get somewhere in the region of 90% accurate, but certainly there will always be something that doesn't quite fit for whatever reason. So yes, so definitely we want to get it placed as best we can, but if they're saying no to you, they don't understand it, and there's only so much you can do. Eventually we just got to let go of it and get somebody they do recognize, or I'd ask for somebody else to come through who could help be a bridge between getting them understood. That's what I would recommend. So hopefully that makes sense to you. So Liz's question, can you feel the spirit being very emotional about something they want the sitter to know? Will the spirit tell you or make you feel the sadness or sorrow and tell you to let the sitter know? Yes, that can happen, absolutely. So spirit can bring through emotions, but generally they wouldn't project it on you to make you emotional. They bring, like, I feel sadness, I feel regret, I feel remorse, I feel happiness, all those things, but they're not there to affect me. I'm just the middleman. I'm just the spokesperson for spirit to bring that through to them. But it's not my job to get the emotion. But yes, spirit will project that upon us, but we should never get emotional. So, when you're working and you're doing a really strong, profound link, we do get all of that, and we understand why. But all contacts should have a healing element. All communication from spirit should ultimately be uplifting and helpful, healing and beneficial for at least the communicator or the recipient, or both, generally. Generally both. It's what we want. Colleen, I'm having difficulty with relationship. For example, difference between mother, grandmother or father, grandfather. Early in my development, I did not have this problem. Now, the other thing to bear in mind is with evidence, your evidence is constantly, how you receive evidence constantly changes. At times you can be fabulous at a certain area and then it will go. For a while, I used to get dates spot on. I could get their birthdays and I would give a date and the biggest people would go, wow. And then it disappeared again, and it can come and it can go. Bear that in mind. So difference between mother, grandmother, as I say, to understand father, grandfather, ask to be shown within your own family the generation, or feel moving up one generation or moving up 2 generations. They're techniques you can use. Ask to get a glimpse of your own loved one if that is the person that you have. For example, you can't show me my mum's brother because my mum didn't have a brother. So that's not possible. My mum was an only child, so you can't show me mum's sister neither. So there's limitations within our own family as to what we can and can't show. But definitely that is a way of doing it. But as I say, if you want to get more on that, then do check out my course. Joan has asked a question. Are there some people more meant to be a medium than others? What I would say is that it's like anything. Each of us has the ability to varying degrees. Some people have the ability to a profound degree, can go on to be a most amazing medium. Their mediumship can unfold and develop within a matter of months, and they can get to a really good point within a matter of a couple of years. Other people, it may take you 10 years to unfold and develop the ability, and you may never really achieve a standard where you could work up in front of a platform or do sit-ins. So we all have it to different degrees. So that's important to recognize. We all have it to different degrees. How you have it, only you will be able to tell and decide. I've been told by some mediums in my own development that I would never be a medium. I've been told that I might as well give it up and go and do something else different instead. I'm pleased I didn't listen to them. I'm pleased I ignored them. So what I would say to you, nobody else can ever tell you you're not going to be a medium. All you can do is put the effort in, unfold, and only then will you find out how you can go. As a teacher, I've been teaching since 2005, 16 years now. I've seen people come through and I've looked at them and thought, yeah, I don't think they've got it. I don't think it's there strongly with them. Even the thought may have crossed my mind that maybe they should try and do something else different. Yet they've gone on to develop it, and they've gone on to do it to a reasonable standard, and I've been proved wrong. So that taught me early on as a teacher, never to judge, never to tell anybody they don't have it. Nobody can ever tell you you do not have the gift. I'm very passionate about that, mainly because I was told. And, so there you go. Do I feel comfortable in recommending some solid mediums who offer smaller classes? I'm investigating several. Won't name them unless you want me to. So the problem is unless I've been in a class with somebody, I don't know how they teach. I know a lot of people who are very good mediums and can demonstrate to a very high standard. However, that does not always translate to teaching. Some people are what I would call natural teachers. Some people are average, good mediums, but fabulous teachers, natural teachers. Some people can be fabulous mediums, but their teaching isn't their forte. So unless I've been in the class with them, I cannot really make recommendations, to be honest. What I can recommend is I do always recommend the Arthur Findlay College tutors. I myself, I'm an approved tutor of the Arthur Findlay College. I went through their tutor training scheme. I know it's a very challenging scheme to get through. Anyone who gets through it is of a certain standard. So any Arthur Findlay College tutor, I highly recommend them. You can go for them for training, and yeah, highly recommend them. You're going to get a very good standard. I do know other people personally, like Charlie Kelly, who I know teaches to a high standard, but it's hard to recommend people. And if you recommend one but not somebody else, then people say, well, why didn't they recommend me? Why didn't you recommend me? Doesn't he like me? And it becomes a challenge. So I don't really like to recommend. So my usual response is I recommend all Arthur Findlay College tutors. Go check them out. Go check out. I also know that a lot of people who work with Janet Nahavik and her Spirit Journey Within Church in the US, they have a lot of really good quality tutors. So I also recommend the Journey Within Church and the tutors they have. So they're the areas I recommend the most: Arthur Findlay College itself, Arthur Findlay College tutors doing courses, and Journey Within. Colleen, lately I've had some readings where I feel the energy of spirit as male, female is not as clear. There is a feminine feeling, but gender appears more male. How do you explain that to the sitter? So we have to recognize that to get the gender, we want to know, is it male or female? Now, I know some ladies who've got a very masculine energy in this life. I know some men who've got a very feminine energy in this life. And if I connected with one of those friends of mine with a feminine energy and was bringing them forward, and I had no other features to bring forward other than their energy, I might accidentally place them as a woman, and they probably get very upset with me. Similarly, if we work solely from the energy, so we have to get more than that. So we want a glimpse of them. We want some aspect, some key, some symbol that helps us identify the gender. Some teachers I know ask you to look at their clothes, ask you to look at their body shape, etc. One tutor I used to attend a class with long time ago, and she was a woman, used to ask, do you feel if they have a chest? As a man, I would never recommend that. It used to make me giggle though. So, what is there that will help you? You have to find your own system. But, when you get those ones that are a challenge, that helps you to find your own system. Absolutely. Okay. Question from ES. Family member had a vision when my deceased loved one made him feel like she had clear messages. He says he is not a believer, so discounts it as imagination. How do we know if it is indeed imagination? It's a very, very difficult one, to be truthful, because when we connect with loved ones who belong to us, our own mind can create that connection. Our own imagination, through that unconscious, subconscious desire, can create it. So as a medium, how do I know my mum or my dad or any of my loved ones in spirit are close to me? It's hard. I can feel them, I can sense them, but it's hard. So, and if somebody is skeptical, it is really, really hard to convince them. Absolutely. Can spirit do that? Yes, they can. Do we receive it the same way as we do for other people? I don't think we do. So I'm a stronger medium working for somebody else than I would be working for myself or for my own loved ones, mainly because I know the information and because it triggers my own mind, and there is that risk of it bringing imagination in, absolutely. If I give you your mum and your dad and I know nothing about them, the likelihood of you getting my imagination is nil. But if it's my own mum, I can kind of guess what she would think. If it's my own dad, I can bring a message through that fits with him. I know loads of evidence about them. So it does become challenging and it's hard. And if your family members don't want to believe it, it will be hard for you to prove it to them. Hopefully they will get clues, they will get glimpses, they will get something that is profound. And yeah, maybe they will go with it. I hope so. I hope so. Could I please discuss how sitting in the power is a passive process while working mediumistically is active? Yeah. So we have our natural state. Let me draw you a little diagram. See if I can do this for you. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping that will appear on screen and you can see it. Can you see this okay? I'm hoping it is going to be okay. So what this diagram shows is the line in the center, in the middle here, that one there, that is your normal state. Then here we have what I call passive states coming down. And this one here is meditation. Sitting in the power is a form of meditation. And then this one here at the top is mediumship. So mediumship is the most active of states. And down here we could have inspirational states, meditation, trance, healings would be around here as well. Up here we got psychic, and then we got mediumship. Now, mediumship is active because we have to do all the work. We have to connect to the spirit world. And we have to get energized and empowered. Mediumship takes something we call the power. So, and mediumship, if you power is the fuel for mediumship, then to make the connection to spirit is like the ignition to start the engine. We've got to get excited, and that's why it's active. We've got to stay energized. We've got to stay active. Most mediums, when they're working on a platform or in front of an audience, are more like an energized version of self. So that's mediumship. It's a very active state. Things like silence is the enemy. You drop out the link. No's will help you drop out the link, all those things. So you've got to do your best to stay in the energy and keep in that energy. But when we're doing meditation, when we're sitting in the power, when I sit in the power, I'm sitting to a tune. I'm going into a relaxed state. I'm relaxing my mind. I'm relaxing my body. And then I'm forming a link, a blend, and a tune with my mind. And all I'm focused upon doing is holding that state of attunement. If my own mind kicks in, I lose it. I go back, I rebuild it, get back in there. That's the key. But it is a passive state because your energy has become very passive. You're not in that excited, energized state. So I always recommend you don't sit for meditation just before working this meeting, because you have got to go from here to there, whereas going from your normal state to there is easier. That's what we want. So hopefully that makes sense. I hope you can follow that. Okay, next question. Question from Evelyn. When I start feeling tinglings from the top of my head down to my ears, is the tingling from my higher self? So what's happening is you're in an energy, the energy is affecting you. Where is that energy coming from? It could come from the spirit world. It could come from where you are within an altered state within your mind. And it could also come from your soul. It could also come from spirit guides, helpers, inspirers. It could come from a variety of sources. It could come from your loved ones drawn close to you. It could come from numerous sources. So can I say the source it's coming from? No, not easily. So can I say the source it's coming from? Not easily, no. So we experience different things, and often it's the energy. Can it be created by ourselves? Yes, it can as well. So we have ourselves in the equation. So I can't give you a definitive answer on that. However, over time, we can build up patterns. We can get understanding from patterns that develop. When you blend with sitting in the power, when you sit in the power of your own soul, what do you feel? When you blend with the power of spirit, the spirit realm, what do you feel? That will give you clues as to what the energy of your own soul feels like versus the energy of spirit. And that will help delineate. Okay, next question. Amanda, attending open circles, had some evidential mediumship, but on last session I kept having a thick headache. Is this normal when starting out? One problem is people ask me the question, I get this, is it normal? And the simple answer is if everybody gets it, we could argue it's normal. But what percentage would count for normal? 50%, 30%, 20%? And have I never heard of it? No, I have heard of it. But is it normal in that everyone gets it? No, it's not normal that everybody gets it, but a number of people get it. And I always say no one should ever deny you your own experiences. So if someone was to say to you, you can't possibly get a headache linked to spirit, you can prove them wrong. In your experience, that's what's happening. But again, why is it happening? And how do you stop it? That's really what you want to know. Would spirit give that to you? No. Spirit has no interest in giving us a headache unless you're linking to someone in the spirit world and the evidence was an injury to the head, something that would create that, or they used to suffer with terrible migraines. They had terrible migraines and therefore it really affected their head. Yes, I get that. In that scenario, you're going to get a headache. Hopefully the headache will go afterwards. Sometimes it can remain and it's not always clear why it remains. Sometimes we subconsciously hold on to it. Sometimes it just affects us that way. But if spirit are not bringing that as evidence, then it could be because you're trying too hard. It could be because of just that's how the energy of the circle made you feel. It could be because that's where you are at this moment in time and you've got a headache. It was just a headache. It was nothing to do with the circle, but it happened then. So it's very hard to tell you the exact reason why or how to resolve it. What you can do is you can send thoughts to the spirit world. I've got a headache of this. Is there anything they can do their side, their end to help it? If they can, that's good. So hopefully that helps you. Can I say something about building confidence with your mediumship while getting some feedback from someone who knows? So with confidence, I've done a whole course on confidence called The Confident Medium. 4 classes. Let me see if I can show you some of my previous courses. So I'm hoping you'll see that. There's a course called The Confident Medium. There's also a course on meditation and sitting for spirit, a course on spiritual self-development, a course on the fundamentals of mediumship, and a course on great mediumship of the past where I speak about my favorite mediums who inspired me, 5 mediums who most inspired me. Also, my current course is the Getting Better Evidence course. They're my courses. Let me go back to where we were. So your question is building confidence with your mediumship while getting feedback. So only you can make yourself confident. Nobody else can make you confident. You can do all my courses with me. You could come on, you could listen to my Confident Medium course, go through every class, and there's no guarantee at the end of it you'll be confident. What we have to do with confidence is it's all about our thinking. It's all about being able to give ourselves positive self-talk, not impose negative beliefs upon ourselves. Most of it is about working with our mind. It's about focusing on what works, not the negative. Most mediums beat themselves up over something tiny and trivial, whereas the 95% that works, they totally ignore that. But the little bit that doesn't, they go home and beat themselves up over. As teachers, as tutors, some tutors can be guilty, especially me in my early stages of being a tutor, actually, I have to agree, that we can be guilty of skipping over what works and focusing on the bits that don't. We take it as granted that you're making good links and making good evidence, but this bit's not quite working for you. So we tell you that bit's not quite working. That's your area to focus on. All you hear is that bit's not working. Or if I give you very balanced feedback, if I tell you this works, this works, this works, this is really going for good for you, there's 2 areas to focus on to move yourself to the next level, but overall it's good. Some people don't hear the positives. Their mind filters out the positives and all they hear is the negative. All they hear is that he said I need to do this and this and he doesn't like my mediumship. No, that's not what you said. It's what you've heard it through your filters of your mind. So you've got to work upon your own mind. Confidence comes from your own thinking, your own self-talk, your own belief systems, your own affirmations, and how you handle negative feedback or positive feedback that is constructive feedback or feedback you don't like. Wayne Dyer had a wonderful expression that I like, which is something along the lines of, what other people think of me is none of my business. What other people think of me is none of my business. And, you know, for every person who likes me as a tutor, there'll be quite a few who don't. For every person who thinks that I really know what I'm talking about, there'll be a whole bunch of people listening to me who thinks, no, he doesn't. He hasn't got a clue. If my teachings resonate with people, that is fabulous. That's wonderful. That is great. If they don't, it doesn't matter. You know, if what I say doesn't fit for you, please let it go. It's important to recognize that. All I do is I bring you my understanding based upon my own teaching, my own development, and all that I've learned, and how I also teach that within my courses, classes, workshops, etc. So that's what I bring you. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, let it go. So yeah, so also something else you can do when you hear feedback, sense from within you, is this true? Has this person got my best interests at heart? Are they giving me this feedback to hurt me? Are they giving this feedback to upset me? Or are they giving me this feedback to help me? If the person means well, go with it. However, some people, as I said, I've been told, as I said to you, that I will never be a medium. Another medium told me my demonstration work wasn't of a standard that I should be working publicly. I should stop working publicly. And we have to listen to it and accept, you know, and remember, whenever you work, it's variable. Some days you'll have a great dem, other days you'll have a lousy dem. You have a variation. If someone just sees you at your worst and assumes that's where you are at your best, that's not good. So you also want people who have seen enough of your work to know when it's good, bad, or indifferent. Whenever someone works in front of me for the first time, I always say to them, how was that compared to how you normally work? Would you say that was average? Would you say that was worse? Would you say that was better? Then it gives me some degree of understanding as to where they feel they are within their own work. So I'm hoping that that will help you. But when it comes to confidence, you've got to do it. Question: I've had readings with adopted people and received multiple moms, dads, grandparents, yet the sitter had little knowledge of biological parents. It happens, absolutely. You know, if you do not understand, is there a way you can go and check it out? Is there a way, for example, I do not know my dad's dad. My dad's dad, I never met him. He wasn't part of the family, effectively. So throughout my dad never spoke about him, pretty much. So I know so little about him. Yet he has been through mediums for me. And the mediums have confirmed and corroborated the evidence about him. So I know how he passed. I know roughly his age. So I've got ideas like his age, his passing, some little pieces that piece together about him that I've received through mediums. So we can get it just to show us they're around us. But yeah, you know, if you think about it, if your mum to this person or your dad to this person, you would want to connect. You've got that connection, that bond of love, even if you weren't a part of their lives. And chances are you'd want to connect to let them know, I wish I had been, or to let them know this was the reason I couldn't be there for you. Absolutely. So you'll try and make that connection. If the person doesn't know, again, remember, common denominator. Who do you have in common? Who can we bring? You know, they know stuff about that person. They can bring information about them to help it be placed. The sitter may be able to go away and check. Absolutely. So I hope that helps. So Deborah asked the question, are there any clairs that are stronger than others? Now, when we start working, we were often working with stronger clairs, and clairs vary over time. I started very strongly clairvoyantly, seeing very strong images, very, very good images, and it happens with a lot of beginners, and you spend all day describing the image. You get a flash of somebody and you say, I've got a man here and he's got grey hair and he's kind of average build, he's average height, he wears glasses, he's got a parting on the left-hand side, and we go into detail on the appearance. Very common. And then that bit starts to change, and then I moved into much more clairsentience, then I moved into more of clair-knowing. An occasional what I get clair-knowing words or clairaudient words, I don't really know for sure which it is. Words can just appear in my mind. Names can appear in my mind. But what I'm trying to say to you is during the course of your development, the clairs will vary. And also, depending upon how your mind works, what we call your representational systems, your modalities, will determine where you naturally work with, what clairs you naturally work with. I'm covering this in the next class on the Getting Better Evidence course in great detail. I also talk about that as well in my Mediumship and the Mind teaching video. If you want to hear about it in detail, it's over there as well. I can't really go through it now, but the idea is that depending upon how your mind functions will determine how your mediumship appears. That's the idea anyway. Okay. Question, do you ever allow spirit to speak through you, like they embody your physical self and use your voice? Now, I work as a trance medium. As a trance medium, the whole purpose of trance mediumship is to surrender and allow spirit to draw close to us and work through us and speak through us, generally to bring through teachings, to bring through information to be shared, or sometimes you can do trance healing, sometimes you can bring through trance clairvoyance. Very rare though to see trance clairvoyance where the guide works as a medium. Gordon Higginson, again, you can check out on YouTube, the Gordon Higginson channel. You'll see some trance demonstrations of Gordon where his guide Paddy entrances him and Paddy does the clairvoyance. He's doing exactly that, trance clairvoyance, where he is working as the medium. Check that out. So that's trance. That is exactly what we do in the trance state. But when I'm doing evidential mediumship, no. With evidential mediumship, I'm not seeking to go into that state to allow that to happen. But what can happen is when we get a very strong link with spirit, when we've got a very strong, when we're blended very, very well, it's almost like we can start to become them. Sometimes we may start talking in the first person. Sometimes we may take on their mannerisms. But I will never try to be them. I will never try to make the person in front of me think their loved one is speaking through them. It can kind of happen naturally. I may flick into the first person when I'm working. I don't even know I'm doing it. And the person may say, it's just like my mum was there talking to me. My mum was there giving me this information. And it often happens as well when we're bringing forward a message from spirit as well. But generally, we don't want to try and seek to create it, or the one thing you don't want to do is to force it. I see mediums who pretend to be the loved one and they're not. So I don't like to see that. Don't like to see that. Okay. So any tips on confidence issues? I've sat, circled, done workshops with mediums. I know I can connect with spirit, but my confidence stops me moving forward with it. So we have a curve of confidence. We have being underconfident, normal confidence, and overconfidence. And there's an optimum level of confidence. And that's what we want. Some people, it often comes from every aspect of our lives. If we're not confident with our mediumship, chances are we're not confident with a lot of other things. But if it's just mediumship, try and identify why. That's the key. It's about identifying why and working with it. I go through this in a great detail in the Confident Medium course as well, about tools and techniques to help you. And I also have a short video on confidence and mediumship as well on the YouTube channel, which is an aspect of that course that I put in there. But you have to, as I said previously, you have to work out where you're going wrong within your mind that is creating the challenge. Are you telling yourself you're not good at it? Are you telling yourself you're an imposter? Something called the imposter syndrome. We do things and we're expecting at any stage someone's going to go, you can't do it. You're a fraud. You're an imposter. Something's going to go wrong. And then it's like, I told you so. And we're just waiting for that thing to go wrong. And because we're focusing on it's going to happen sooner or later, we actually create it. That's what happens. We actually create it. So, yeah. So you have to identify yourself what is creating the confidence issue. There's a whole range of things. It's, but trust yourself, trust your abilities, trust spirit, focus upon what works, focus upon the positives. Don't get too hung up on the negatives when it's not working. Don't start talking negatively to yourself like, yeah, I knew I couldn't do it. I knew I was no good at this. Just like every other aspect of my life, I'm no good. It doesn't work. And we talk ourselves into a non-confident state. Okay. Next question. Any recommendations for strengthening third eye and clairvoyance? My weakest clair. Now, I never talk about the third eye. You'll never hear me ever talk about the third eye. People focus on meditations on different chakras, and none of that's ever worked for me. I just find by overly focusing upon things like the third eye, the chakras, it doesn't really help me. So I don't work with that personally, and I don't teach that. It may work for you, and that's fine. And everyone's entitled to their own belief systems and what they do. So for me, the question is, how would you strengthen your clairvoyance? Well, first of all, are you a naturally visual person? If you're not a naturally visual person, then that may not be the area you work in. So become more observant. Seek to work with it. Often it's there, but we don't recognize it. Often it comes in, but we don't recognize it. So it's opening up to it, looking for it. Try and work with it in isolation. Ask spirit to work with you with clairvoyance in isolation, to give you clairvoyance. But the other thing we have to think about, and again, it's something I'll be talking about in the courses, that depends upon where you are within your development as to what will come to the fore. And the more I teach, the more I'm beginning to think that actually I can't teach anyone to become clairaudient. I can't teach anyone to be an amazing clairsentient. You've got to unfold and develop it from within. And when we sit for spirit, it's about sitting to unfold the potentials within us. Some people will have that potential to do it brilliantly, others won't. Others will be able to do it to a reasonable standard. But we have to effectively unfold it from within. And it's about us getting our mediumship to a level where it unfolds naturally. I think we can get a bit too hung up upon, here's a wonderful technique to develop this. Some people will say, oh, imagine having a really strong third eye, really intense third eye, imagining everything just flaring and opening, all these visions within your mind. And you can do that till the cows come home. It won't necessarily make you better as a clairvoyant. Another one, imagine you have extra bionic ears, huge ears, to become clairaudient. And again, you can do that till the cows come home, and it won't necessarily give you clairaudience. Whereas it's about creating the conditions for the potentials to unfold. That's what I would say. Next question. Nicole, do you have any tips on how you can differentiate between your own guides or someone that wants to come through? Now, when we're doing mediumship, we're open to the spirit world. We invite somebody to link with us from the spirit world. Your own guides are not going to do that because they know you're looking for somebody else. You should not be linking. So set the intent. The intent is mediumship. If it's mediumship, we're not linking with our guides. My guides would never come through when I'm demonstrating mediumship at all. It's kind of it's an obvious thing. If I'm setting the intent to link with loved ones, if one of my own guides comes in the mix, it's going to make life hard for me. So it's all about setting the intent. And spirit are intelligent as well, remember. Those who work with you from spirit, the guides, the helpers, the inspirers, they're intelligent people. They're not going to try and confuse the system. They're not, and it's not the old style system. Another quick diagram for you. So this diagram here, so that is, the S stands for spirit. That's spirit. That's your guide, and this is your guide here. I haven't drawn a G on it, but I will quickly do a G for you. So this here, that is your guide, and this here is the medium who's doing the work. So the old school idea is that it all functions through the guide is the intermediary, but I don't believe in that at all. For me, when I'm doing mediumship, I feel spirit, I receive spirit's thoughts, I blend with the presence of spirit and the energy of spirit. So I know this not to be true. This side is what's happening. I'm working with spirit. The guides oversee the process. The guides watch what is happening. The guides help us and help spirit. But the guide stays out of the communication between us and spirit because it would create problems. So we can send our thoughts to the guide. Can you help fine tune the conditions to make it work better? The guide can be talking to the spirit communicator to help make things better, but the guide doesn't want to communicate with us directly and for us to feel their presence, for us to feel information about them, because it would confuse it. So set the intent. The intent is the key thing. And if we set the intent, it shouldn't happen. And it's not actually all that easy to link to our guides neither. So I find it easier when we're first starting out to link to the spirit world. So yeah, go for that. Question: how can you tell when the communication changes? I'll often get evidence that applies to one spirit, and I'll give evidence and the sitter tells me that it's for a different spirit. So we can feel the communicator's energy. If I get someone with a strong energy, then someone with a gentle energy, it's obvious. But if I get mum and mum's mum, grandmother on mum's side, and that got almost identical energies, I can't differentiate a change. We end up then having to rely upon the sitter to say no to us, to say that's not quite right. And then the sitter to say, the last 3 bits of evidence fits my grandma, not my mum. Do they have a similar personality? Because I'm sensing almost the personality is identical. Yes. Then we have to learn to separate them out. Mum, you've got that, and that about you. I'm working with you now. Grandma, stay out of the way. I'll come back to you in a moment. And we split it up and work it. So we have to look for the energy if we can feel the energy. And sensing the energy it depends upon the level you've developed. It depends upon where you are in your development. So, you know, if you developed well, you may sense that energy. If you're highly advanced, you may tell the energy changes. But if you're just beginning, you can't. If you're intermediate at certain levels, it may not be easy, especially if they're the same. Even if you're advanced and the energies are almost identical, you can't. So yes, that's some clues and some ideas. So I'm hoping you're finding this useful so far. I'm hoping you're enjoying the class so far. As I said, you can, if you wish, make a donation to my channel through PayPal. There is a link at the very top of the live chat. Any donations are much appreciated. I believe as well that Super Chat is enabled as well. If you want to make a donation through Super Chat, that is also equally welcomed as well. So back to the questions. Rituals in mediumship. Colleen, I feel I've become dependent on rituals prior to readings. How can I simplify and reduce time and energy used for preparation? Simple. Ditch all the rituals. Rituals perform a need. They meet our own needs. And I have a video called Rituals in Mediumship on my YouTube channel, one of my video shorts, which I go into this in a lot of detail. And quite simply, certain rituals help us at certain stages within our development, but often we outgrow them. Often we can relinquish them. Often we can let them go. You know, I used to wear the same coloured watch. I used to have a purple watch, wore it for every demonstration. I used to have some jewellery belonging to my granddad, cufflinks that I used to wear when I was demonstrating on platform. And it's like when I wore those, I felt close to my grandfather. But then I lost one and I couldn't find it anymore. So I had to lose that ritual because I couldn't do it anymore. Some people have their special stone, their special clothes, their special jewelry. But if you lose that jewelry or you don't have it on you, or you're not wearing those clothes, can you work? The answer is yes. I remember being at church and I'm sitting there in the audience in my jeans, t-shirt, and probably not looking brilliant, not shaved for a couple of days. And the medium's not turned up. And Martin, can you get on that platform? And you're on. And it's like, okay, I'm working tonight for spirit. I've not had a chance to prep. I've not had a chance to plan. No rituals, just get straight into it. So we have to learn to identify the ritual. First of all, identify it. Secondly, look at what purpose it serves you. Look, is there anything else you can do to replace it to help you with that purpose? Maybe it's giving you confidence. Can you do some affirmations for confidence? Can you do something else for confidence, positive self-talk? And can you relinquish it? Can you let go of it and see if there's any change? And then when we start letting go of it, we realize that, yes, things work. Great. We can move on with it. So again, question about the clairs. It seems that all the other clairs have faded and it's all claircognizance, clair-knowing. Do clairs come and go? Hard to trust with no audio, visual, even clairsentience isn't strong at the moment. Are clairs cyclical? So clairs change. As we develop our mediumship, clairs change. And also what happens with the power. Power is fuel for mediumship. When you're first starting to do mediumship and you only need to do one link, you can be projected with images very strong. You can be projected with feelings very strong. But when you're going to be doing multiple links after each other, you've got to conserve that power, that energy. So you get more of a fleeting glimpse, more of a fleeting feeling. So now the way I get it is, it's almost like it's been dialed down. I used to get it at number 10. I used to get feelings at number 10, images at number 10. Now I'm getting them at number 1 or 2. They've been dialed right back. But I can still understand them. I can still receive them. And it allows me to work longer, allows me to do an hour and a half DEM. So that's the key. They backed it off. It's called the conservation of power, conservation of energy. So that's important to recognize. So clairs change. How we get clairs within our work, the strength of the clairs changes. We go through cycles. Like I said, we can start with clairvoyance, clairsentience. Those two can come in first. Some people have what I call perceived clairaudience, which is not true clairaudience. Again, I'll be talking about that in the evidence class that I'm running at the moment in great detail. But basically, yes, they come and go. But then we get to a stage within our mediumship where mediumship functions through all of the clairs simultaneously, and we can't determine how we receive it. When I was put those links up I put 2 links up in demonstration on YouTube. I was thinking about those links in great detail, how I received the information. In many instances, it wasn't clear, even to me now looking back at it. A lot of it was just a knowing. A lot of it was just everything was firing at once, and it's a knowing. And sometimes we break mediumship up into chunks too much, when really we just got to look at the whole. If the whole works, go with it. But again, when things change, it affects our confidence. So it's back to that little one. Can we learn to adapt, go with the flow without it affecting us? That's the key. Could mediumship come naturally? For some people, it comes very naturally. For others, it doesn't. Some people are what I call natural mediums. The potential is there at the surface. It takes very little development to unfold it. And we have development and unfoldment. And unfoldment is what we often want to achieve when we're sitting for spirit. Development is what we do through going through classes and courses. We need both to be working in parallel as well. So for some mediums, yes, it comes very natural. For others, it doesn't. So yes. But always, it's all about making that commitment to your development. It doesn't matter whether you're a natural medium or not. By putting the time and effort in and showing up, you'll get there. You know, I see a lot of people who have natural ability who come and go very quickly. They dabble, they're good at it, but they're not there for the long haul. And those who just turn up week in, week out with their development surpass them. It's the hare and the tortoise. Some people have a really amazing fast start, but the tortoise just keeps plodding, keeps turning up, has the dedication and the commitment, and they overtake them. So don't worry about having an amazing fast start like the hare. You've got to stay at it. That's the key. So why do I say we should not feel the emotion being portrayed from the spirit story? What I say is we should not get involved in the emotion. We should not be affected by the emotion. It's fine to feel it. It's fine to experience it. But if I'm standing on platform and I burst into tears and can't work anymore, it doesn't help spirit, doesn't help the sitter, doesn't help the church or the organization I'm working for. So ultimately, we have to be able to work. We have to stay out of the emotion so that it doesn't affect us and our ability to be the clear channel to deliver the content. Mediums have to work on self. If I've got issues in my background that some communicator brings that for evidence forward and it affects me, it triggers my own issues and takes me into the emotions, that's not good. So I also say mediums need to sort their own stuff out. That's what I mean. So yes, you're allowed to feel the contact, feel the emotion. You are allowed to feel the emotion, but you're not allowed to get bogged down in the emotion to the effect it stops you. Why do I very rarely get contact with my family members in spirit? Now, with this question, I don't know whether you mean why does my family members not come through other mediums, or why you don't get contact yourself. So I'm going to assume you're meaning contact yourself. Now, I can't contact my loved ones the same as I can contact other people's loved ones. If you like, it's a safety mechanism, safety valve. If I could be connected to my mum all the time. I would spend a heck of a lot of my time connecting with her because we were very close. So it's like spirit know that. So the gift, the ability is there to serve other people. The gift ability is not there for me to serve self. So we have to recognize that our ability to contact our own is severely limited for most mediums, restricted, because it is that safety valve. Because most people I know would want to do it a heck of a lot. So absolutely. So that's the question of why it's not so easy to contact your own. And the other problem is what I said earlier on. If my own loved ones are always close, how do I know it's not it's my imagination and my mind, or how do I know it's my mediumship? Because they both work through the imagination, and my own needs and desires, whether conscious or subconscious, can create that. So it's very hard for me to tell. So again, that's part of the safety mechanism, because it's not easy for us to tell. Yeah, I get that. So yes. Now, if it's your loved ones have not come through other mediums, you need to give it time. You need to, I have a video short on the YouTube channel. Why has my loved one not come through? And check that out. There's a multitude of reasons. In 10 or 15 minutes, I'll explain all why. But ultimately, you need to go and be around more mediums. You need to go and be exposed to more mediums, more mediumship, a good mediums, hopefully, and they will come through. Question. Can you speak to preparing to become open for business along the lines of technology, word of mouth, pricing? But anything would be appreciated. That's a huge question, Claudia. And that is a big question, because, you know, if we're going to be a medium and we're putting ourselves out there to work, we need to advertise ourselves. People need to understand we exist. You have a presence, whether it be on online media like Facebook, whether it's a website. You need to decide how you're working. Are you doing face-to-face? Are you going to work on Zoom? Are you going to work on Messenger? Are you going to work on Skype? You need to have all those things in place. You need to have a relatively good setup for communicating. You know, you need to have a reasonable webcam, a reasonable mic so you can be heard. All those aspects all need to be done. Pricing, you need to set your pricing structure. You know, how are you going to get business? For me, I recommend people don't overly promote themselves. Your work should speak for yourself. If your work is of a quality, it should bring people to you. But also understand that some people are not destined to work in certain ways. You know, I set out doing mediumship and sit-ins, and a lot of people of my classes, circles, who were set out to do the same, they were booked all the time for sit-ins. I didn't get that many at all. And however, now looking back at it, I understand why. There's often reasons that come to us later, not at the time. Maybe that's not what we're meant to be doing. So yeah, I will be doing a later course. The next course following the evidence course is all going to be about private sit-ins. And within that, I'm going to be talking about all the practicalities of how you offer yourself to do private sit-ins, you know, from physical in rooms to virtual online. So a lot more of that, how your charging strategy, how you get people in and out in person, all of that. So I'll be going through all of that in the private sit-ins course. Question, what age is too young to train as a medium or psychic? Below the age, anyone who's defined as a child should not be trained as a medium or psychic. In the UK, 18 is the age below which we do not train. I would never personally accept anybody to my courses, classes, if they're below the age of 18. Mainly because they're impressionable. And I think at that age, people should be doing other things. You know, if you do have them there, you need to have the consent of the parent or guardian. It's challenging. It's far easier to wait until they reach age of consent within your country. And if it's their choice, they may come along to it. But, and also they're very impressionable, and it can create a lot of its own challenges. You know, as I said, I saw a lot of people with potential come and go, especially young people, because it's not the right time for them. Mediumship unfolds when the conditions are right and when the timing is right. And often what happens is the potential is shown to them. They go away, live a bit of life, go to college, do whatever, and then they come back to it when the time is right. Question from Nicole. Every medium I've ever sat for in the 25 years has described one or two of my spirit guides. At this point, I must have over 60 different ones. How can every medium come up with a different guide? Quite simple. You're not going to like this answer. I talk about it, the A to Z of guides. I personally, like you, I've been given so many guides from Aborigine to Zulu, the A to Z, with everything in between. And my guides are not like that. However, first of all, I never give guides unless I'm being impressed to from spirit. It's very rare you will ever get me giving guides to people unless it was a spiritual appraisal or assessment. Because I believe people have to find out for themselves who their guides are. So I don't think as mediums it's good to give guides, and I never ever would recommend anyone give guides from the platform. It's poor practice. Secondly, a guide comes forward with an energy. It's a strong masculine energy. So within the mind of the medium, they think strong masculine energy equals Aborigine. Strong masculine energy equals Zulu. Strong masculine energy equals Native American. Take your pick of archetype. Take your pick of description of what your guide is and bring it forward. However, think about it. Guides are evolved souls who've had multiple lifetimes. Why would they define themselves by one lifetime? Often it can be our needs for them to be a Native American, our needs for them to be an Egyptian, our needs for them to be a monk, our need for them to be a nun. That's our needs. The guides aren't really like that. So, yeah, I get this. And for me, no, I don't like it. I don't think it's helpful. If it's meant to be, you'll get information which pieces together and validates and corroborates who your guides are. But the key is as well, you have to open up to their influence and presence. I don't know what my guides are, really, whether they are this, that, or the other. And my guides have told me that a lot of it is my own needs that will create it. So now I just step back from it, and they can be whatever they like. As long as they're willing to work with me, willing to support me, willing to be a part of my journey, I'm grateful enough. That's all I need. That's all I need. I don't need to know what they are. Provide they bring their wisdom, provide they bring their love, provide they bring healing, provide they bring whatever they wish to bring forwards, their inspiration, whatever it may be. That's good enough for me. So don't get too hung up upon knowing your guides. It's a mistake. And don't get into guide worship. It's a mistake as well. You know, oh, I've got a better guide than you, what I call guide top trumps. In the UK, we have a game of top trumps where different cards have this card betters your card. And, oh, my guide is fabulous. Oh, no, I've got Jesus. No, I've got Buddha. And on we go. We get into this game of guides top trumps. Don't do it. I've only seen one of my own guides, but feel the rest. Can you speak to meeting our own guides? Meeting our own, the term meeting is a challenging term because they're not going to physically manifest in the room. There's lots of meditations where you go and meet your own guides. And, you know, you sit on a lovely bench in the woods and the sky is bright, the sun is shining, the birds are singing. And you imagine someone's coming to sit in the bench and be with you. And do you know what happens? It's your own imagination triggers it. It's not real. The best way to meet your guides is to blend in the power with them and to invite them forwards. To blend, set the intent you would like a guide or helper to come forward, to feel their energy, to blend with them and allow it to happen. Within my meditation and sitting for spirit courses, there's 4 classes. One of the classes is a meditation to get to know your guides. It's not to meet your guides, because I don't think the meeting happens like that. I think it's a misnomer in terms of terminology. So meditation to get to know your guides, get to know their energy, to open to their inspiration and to open to their thoughts. That's what we're really looking for. So don't get too hung up upon knowing your guides, meeting your guides, and having your guides talk to you in real time, because it doesn't really happen like that. Okay, Deborah, do you feel chocolate, caffeine, alcohol are grounding? Alcohol, no chance. So, you know, the question we have is, and I do another video short I've done on grounding. Go check that out for grounding. All mediums need to be grounded, and by grounded mean returning to a normal state. My definition of grounding is return to a normal state after working. When I do mediumship, I move my awareness, I open my awareness, I shift my energy, I raise my vibration, I I'm doing a lot of things. When I'm finished, I need to bring myself back to me, normal Martin, able to wash the dishes, able to drive a car, able to do all the normal things I do. So that's what I speak of when I say grounding. So does caffeine bring me back to a normal state? For some people it will. Chocolate, so the problem is people say, oh, you need to ground yourself with this, that and the other. You know, grounding is a state of mind. I find whenever I do anything that's, I was going to say boring, but it's not the right word. Anything that's routine or monotonous brings me back to, you know, if I decide to do some cleaning or decide to wash the dishes, that brings me back to normality. Often people say have a glass of water, have a sip of water. Helps bring you back to normality. Engage with normal life. That will bring you back to normality. You know, that's the key. Chocolate, caffeine, alcohol, nah, just return to normal. Alcohol puts you in an altered state, remember. Alcohol takes you to that altered state. You don't want to be doing alcohol to get grounded. You know, when you know, too much alcohol, you're definitely not grounded. You're in an altered state. Question. Miss Silver, when you're reading, do you actively ask questions of spirit or just allow spirit to tell their story? Having trouble with direct questions seems like I search for answers and stops flow. So again, it's like a constant advert, this one, isn't it, for my Getting Better Evidence course. Again, I give people techniques and tools to work with to be able to work in different ways. The ideal is that we don't go asking anything. The ideal is spirit know exactly what they want to communicate. Spirit know their loved ones here. Spirit know they've got to bring through evidence. Spirit know the messages they wish to convey. My job is simply to blend with them, surrender to it, and let them bring everything they're capable of bringing. However, I've got to be capable of receiving it as the medium. So that's a part of it. If I'm not capable of receiving it, we're going to have problems. Secondly, if the blend isn't brilliant, we're going to have problems. If they're not a fabulous communicator, it may not flow as well as we would like. If they're a brilliant communicator, it may flow. So the blending is key. The blending is critical, really. And I talk about a lot of techniques to help work with that and to help to do that technique. But if we can't get a good blend, or they're not a good communicator, or it's not functioning brilliantly for us, we have to ask questions. When you ask a question, if you don't receive the information from spirit, your own imagination gets very helpful. How old are you? I'm not receiving it from spirit. My own mind says 61. What's your name? I'm not receiving it. My own mind from spirit says, my own imagination shouts John. So when we ask a question, there's a risk that if we try and find the information in that moment, that we will bring it in from imagination. Set the intent. Can you give me your name? Can you give me your age? Can you give me your relationship? And then just work with what's coming, but don't go actively looking for the pieces of information, because those pieces of information can come from your imagination, but it can take you out the connection with spirit. It can block the flow. So ideally we would like it to flow, but yeah. So I agree, yes. So Bethany, any advice to help get the message from spirit? I'm able to get more pieces of confirmed evidence, but I struggle to get messages to pass along to the sitter. Yeah, that's quite common for many people. A lot of mediums will drop onto the psychic for the message. And sometimes we try too hard to get the message. Sometimes the message is within the evidence, and certain parts of the evidence can stand out, or the evidence is built up to deliver the evidence, if only we can see the pattern that formed. Again, without wanting to sound like a broken record, I'm going to go through all of this in the Getting Better Evidence course, in terms of how to get message in the evidence, how to find the message, the tools and techniques to do that. But ultimately, we have to ask spirit to bring it forward. But I also open to the energy of the sitter as well, because what spirit brings forward, when combined with their energy, the two get meshed together and I can understand a lot better. So don't work strictly mystically when you're doing the message. Open to the psychic as well, and it will help you. So my last video, is it psychic or is it mediumistic? I talk about that, and I talk about some techniques you can use. So definitely check that one out as well. So getting the message. Some mediums are brilliant at evidence, but not so good at message. It's something you have to develop. But again, it's all about whether or not you're able to blend closely with them to receive it from them. And it's all about where you are in your own development as well. So hopefully that helps. Eva, as a developing medium, how many readings would you recommend I do in a week? I regularly attend on average 4 circles a week in addition to classes, and I do have a very busy life and family. So for me, it's got to be balanced. You know, if we go doing mediumship all the time, it's not helpful. Too much practice is actually not beneficial. Too little practice is not beneficial. You're trying to find an optimum. I myself, I used to practice mediumship in my, when I was a developing medium. It was probably 3 times a month I did it. That's all I did. 3 times a month, 3 circles or classes, maybe 4 tops. So maybe weekly at the most. I think if you're doing it every night, it can be too much. So I think it sounds like you're doing a lot, is my guess. But again, when we say developing medium, there's different stages of development, of course. You remember, there's beginner, there's intermediate, there's advanced, just before you're about to start working with your mediumship, where you get to a standard where it's all coming very accurately. Then, then you'll be doing readings. But I know some people who want to practice all the time. Now, the problem is practice has to be structured. Practice has to be done where you're getting good feedback. Practice is best done under the oversight of a good tutor. I know a lot of mediums who develop just solely through doing practice readings, and they develop a lot of bad habits which take forever to unpick because they become so embedded. So I would rather people practice less under good supervision and tutor and don't pick up bad habits than go and do it all themselves and get some really bad habits, and it doesn't really, and then they're limiting their development in the future. So it's very hard to say how many readings you should do. It would really depend whereabouts you are with your development and whereabouts your mediumship is. But for me, you don't have to do too many. You need to live your life. You need to be there for our families. We need to be there for our day job if we have a day job. You know, we have to have that balance. Absolutely. Question: when doing spiritual healing, from Kathy, are we attuning the same as when you're doing readings? When doing spiritual healing, are we attuning the same as when we're doing readings? No, totally different. So when we're doing readings, we're opening to ask for people from the spirit world to blend with us. We're getting excited, we're getting energized, we're moving our minds to the spirit world to make it happen. It's a very active, energized state, like I said earlier. We're opening to people coming forward from spirit, loved ones who belong to that person. That's who we're asking for. So that's what we're doing when we're doing mediumship. When we're doing healing, we're attuning to spirit guides who are healing guides, and it's very passive. And all we're doing is establishing a connection and then allow a flow of healing energy to flow through us. If we're doing absent healing, then it's attuning to spirit guides and sending our thoughts, our healing thoughts, sending out, if we're petitioning the guides that healing be directed at certain people. I do have a video all about spiritual healing. If that really interests you, you can dive deeper into the processes of it. So definitely check that out. But they're different. What happens is healers come to mediumship and it doesn't work. And mediums go to try and do healing and it doesn't work because they've not been trained the difference in the energies and the differences in the attunement. So you have to recognize that they're different. When I'm doing healing, I just make a link to spirit and I just let a healing energy flow. I'm not looking for evidence. I'm not looking for information. I'm not actively doing anything with my mind. I just surrender and let it happen. But when I'm doing mediumship, I'm much more active, much more energized. I'm receiving information, relaying information, receiving information, relaying it. I may be asking questions of spirit as well if I need to help get things sorted out. I may be sending thoughts to my guides and helpers if something's not working. It's very active. I'm engaged. My own mind is engaged in the process. Healing, no. Healing, I want me out of it, me passive, almost like in a meditative state, delivering healing. That's kind of how I best describe it. Okay. Natalie, I'm psychic in a 5-year program developing transmedium healing and hearing sensing spirit. Was told not to connect until year 3. It's happening now, mediumship. Thoughts on approaches? Yeah. So for me, things like that, I won't tell you what my first thought that comes into my mind when I hear something like that. It's okay, I will tell you what the first thing that comes out. I don't upset anybody. But if someone says to me, do a 5-year program and you can't connect to spirit to year 3, I'd personally be thinking they're after my money. That's what I'd be thinking. It doesn't make any sense. It also doesn't make any sense that you would do a program to try and develop all those things in parallel. Go on a course to develop mediumship. Go on a course to do healing. But trying to develop them all and saying this one comes in at year X, Y, or Z, doesn't make any sense to me at all. If you go on a course to do mediumship with me, if you came on a course at the Arthur Findlay College, or you came on a course in a workshop in a church, I would be getting you there and then on day 1 to try and work with spirit. Absolutely. That's what it's about. I do recommend people start to work psychically first to get used to the flow and the psychic. I do recommend people sit for spirit to build power. Otherwise, it's going to be a struggle. I do recommend we do spiritual development upon self as well. Absolutely. But ultimately, there's no reason why people can't also be making links as well and seeking to work with spirit. So I don't understand the logic in that. It's not an approach I would ever take. I'm not here to criticize anybody else's approach, but it's just not logical to me. And to all the tutors I've been taught by, none of them would teach in that way. So that's all I can say. So Claudius asks, have you balanced guide direction with that personal intuition, whether when reading or otherwise? I'm not really sure what you mean with this. Now, for me, majority of my readings are working with spirit. The majority of my readings is evidential mediumship. The majority of my readings are all about receiving communication and evidence and messages from the spirit world. I'm not seeking to work with anybody else's guides ever. I don't work my own guides in doing a reading. Only time I would ever work with somebody else's guides would be a spiritual appraisal, but that is a specific type of appraisal. But I don't believe it's that easy for us to connect to other people's guides unless they want to. We can connect to our own guides. They can inspire us a little bit. So guide direction, I'm not really sure what we mean by that. And personal intuition, that's our psychic feeling. So again, I don't do purely psychic sit-ins. My worst nightmare is someone who comes for wanting some guidance on their love life. God, it really bothers me when that happens. I tell people I do not do marital guidance. I'm not a counselor on relationships, and it's not what I do. Not what I work with, I'm afraid. So no, I don't do that. So for me, I don't really work purely psychic sit-ins. If you want to go and see a psychic, fine. There's loads of them out there. Loads of people I know who do purely psychic sit-ins. Loads of mediums I know who do purely psychic sit-ins. My passion is working with spirits, so I don't really like to go there. So in terms of balancing the issues you're talking about, I'm not really sure, to be honest. It's not how I work, so I can't really talk about it. Some people, do a reading where they work with whatever influence appears. Whatever they get, they work with. And that's all well and good to a point, but then you don't know how you're getting it. You don't know what you're doing. You put words in the mouth of spirit. And we tell people we're doing mediumship when it's just psychic work. Or we tell people it's information coming from their guides or our guides when it's not. And sometimes we give it our own imagination. It becomes a melting pot of information that's not clear to the recipient. So I can't really go much more into it than that. So Alessandra, what do you say about some days I can't connect at all and some days I can, like coming and going in phases? That generally tells me, and we must remember that mediumship is variable. Some days we get a brilliant link and other days we don't. Some days it works, other days it doesn't. But generally, once we get to a certain standard, it should work pretty much most of the time. But if you go to a class and some days on a class it just doesn't work at all, and some days it does, and there's a lot of that happening, it shows us a problem. The problem can be where your own mind is. If you're under a lot of stress, mediumship generally doesn't work. We need to let our mind be relaxed. The best training for your mind is sitting for spirit, sitting in the power. I do have a meditation, sit in the power, which I highly recommend. It is also part of the meditation and sitting for spirit course. That is the best training you can get for your mind. It also helps you build that fuel for mediumship. If you've got no fuel for mediumship, we shouldn't be surprised if mediumship doesn't happen. So we see that a lot as well. But then after that, if it's not the fuel, if it's not issues going on in our own life that blocks us because of stress, etc., then it's generally the connection. We've not learned to make a good connection. We've not learned to connect well. We've not learned to move ourselves totally into the presence of spirit. And that's the key one. I do have a video on that, Mediumship Class 3, Connecting to Spirit, which goes into it in detail. I also cover it in detail in Fundamentals of Mediumship course, if you're interested in that. But there's work to be done on the connection. There's work to be done on, and only you can learn to connect for yourself. I can give you a multitude of techniques and tools that may help you, but you've got to be the one who goes away and tries them and works with them and see what happens with them to make it happen. That's the thing. Good. And Kim said, love watching your teaching. So easy to understand, down to earth, not waffled information. Absolutely. So my strap line for my videos is bringing you practical, down to earth teachings on mediumship and development without the fluff and without the waffle, without, I like to get to the point. I like to keep it simple. For me, I've got a very scientific, logical background. So that's kind of how I teach. That's what it's about. Absolutely. Someone's asked, am I free for the next 10 to 12 hours? No, sadly the answer is no. I will be looking to finish the live stream. We hit an hour and a half now. I will be looking to finish the live stream certainly within the next 30 minutes, I'm afraid. We can't go all night. And plus it takes its toll on my vocal cords as well. So I will work down the questions as best I can, but I definitely will be finished within 2 hours. I don't know how many more questions there are. If you do definitely want to get your question answered from me, what you can do is you can do a super chat and put it in that, and I will definitely get to it and do that. I will prioritize those if that's of interest to you. Just click on the little dollar thing on near the type box. Okay, so let's keep going. Where are we now? Can you please recommend some seminal books on background, history of mediumship and beginner's literature on spiritualism for someone who never heard of it before 2019? Oh, there are so many on spiritualism and mediumship. Books I would often recommend on mediumship. I'm a big fan of Harry Edwards' Guide to the Development of... Let me get it for you. It looks like that. A Guide for the Development of Mediumship. It's also part of Harry Edwards' Life in Spirit book. It's a chapter of his Life in Spirit book available from the Harry Edwards Healing Sanctuary. I believe that Arthur Findlay College sells this one as well. So you should be able to get that one from the Arthur Findlay College. Highly recommend that. I know Janet Nahavic's book, Where Two Worlds Meet, is a good book. Lots of Gordon Smith books as well are really quite beneficial as well. So I highly recommend those as well. So thank you, Sheila, for your super chat. That really is much appreciated. I can't see if there's a question attached to it though. I will see if I can find your question. If there is a question attached to it. Fingers crossed we can find it. So yeah, so I highly recommend the John and Havoc, Gordon Smith books, and the Harry Edwards one. In terms of, I love Silver Birch books. Silver Birch books are absolutely awesome. So all the Silver Birch books are available from the Spiritual Truth Foundation. Highly recommend all of those. I also recommend on spiritualism, there's some very good books by Maurice Barbanel. Spiritualism Today, and the other one is called This is Spiritualism. This is Spiritualism. It's excellent. Again, available from... And then there's a whole stack of books. There's a History of Spiritualism by Boddington. The University of Spiritualism, sorry, by Boddington. There's the History of Spiritualism by Conan Doyle. There's all sorts of books. It's a big old topic. I'll have to create a book list, won't I? I'll have to create a book list and put it on my website for you all. Right, let's see where we were. I've lost my place. Hopefully I will refine my place. And thank you, Alessandra, for your super chat donation. Always much appreciated. All the donations help the channel, help to grow the channel, help to get equipment and things. So it's all extremely appreciated. Okay, I found my place. Good. Yep. So, Colleen, your point that yeah, teachers teach in different ways. I teach the way I teach. I know a lot of other teachers do not teach in the same way. I get that. I see that, and yes, it can create problems. Absolutely. So. Don't go to your teachers and tell them that what they teach is complete rubbish because Martin Twycross said so. they might get upset with you. But with all teachings, of course, you've got to feel what's right for you. Absolutely. Okay. And Eduardo, I really appreciate your donation. Again, as I say, it really helps the channel. So let me just have a look. Maria, I find spirits present themselves at a younger age, not the age when they passed. It makes it harder for the sitters to recognise them at first. What's your advice on this? This is a really easy one. This is the easiest question to answer all night, and it's simple. Ask them to show you the age they passed. My rule is, spirit, if you're going to give me an image of yourself, it has to be the age you pass. You can then take me back in your life anywhere you like, but otherwise you're going to confuse me. If you show me age 20 and you pass 70, how will that help me? It will not. So I ask that they give me it at the age that they passed, always. And then I allow them to go anywhere they like. So set that intent, set that as the focus, communicate that when you're sitting with spirit, that that's what you want, and fingers crossed, after that, it will happen. It will happen. I hope. And Claudia, thank you also for your donation. That is really much appreciated. So I'm glad that was an easy question. Get through more that way. How long would you recommend for someone who is completely new at this to sit in the power before actually giving readings? Is there a milestone before going out there? Well, we have to differentiate between sitting in the power is the fundamentals to develop the mind training needed for mediumship. That's the key thing to remember. It's building your fuel for mediumship. Then we have to do mediumship development and training, which is a process whereby we learn the skills of mediumship, we hone our mediumship, we get ourselves to the point where we can do mediumship routinely to a certain standard. And then we go out there to put ourselves out there to start offering readings to, other than what I call practice readings. Practice readings, we can do that within circles, classes, and shared practice readings, exchange readings, that's okay. But if you're going to go and start doing readings for somebody who is not in practice with you or not as a shared, in that shared environment, then what I would recommend at that point then is, so you need to have achieved a certain standard. So we've got like the time period for prep, your time period for learning it, and then getting out there. And for everybody, time is different. For me, sitting in the power is something you do for life. We never stop doing it. I still keep doing it. It will always enhance and unfold the greater potentials within me. Absolutely. I believe all of us should do sitting in the power. Absolutely. Developing mediumship is also a lifetime's work. I'm still developing. I'm still learning. I may not go to circles with other people anymore, but I certainly sit in my own circle. Spirit do give me guidance on my own development. And every time I work on a platform, every time I do a sitting, it's an opportunity for me to learn, for me to grow, for me to improve. So it's hard to give anybody a specific time frame, but remember, it all runs in parallel. So you can start learning to do mediumship in classes, circles, workshops, courses, whilst sitting in the power. They can go together, concurrent. Let me try and show you what I mean. So So I'm hoping this may make sense if you can see that. So at the bottom here, this is sitting in the power, which is fundamental to all of our mediumship. We should do it for the whole time. This is developing our mediumship, which, as I say, I believe our development never stops. And the top bit here, this is where we start to work with our mediumship with the public. So we have to do the other two before we ever get to that bit. That would come in later. But what the time period is depends on different people. Some people can do it within a year. Some people, it may take 2 or 3 years. Some people, if they're very lucky, it may take 6 months. There's no hard and fast thing. But the point is, before we work in public and work with the public doing readings, whether we're charging or not, then it has to achieve, we have to achieve a certain standard with it. We have to achieve a good standard with it. That's what we would want. And yes, thank you very much for your donation and your comment. That really is much appreciated. I think I thanked Claudia, but if I didn't, I'm very grateful, Claudia, for your super chat donation too. Okay. Next question. Can you connect remote viewing into mediumship? Yes. So remote viewing is seeing something. When we talk about remote viewing in mediumship, what we do is we go on a journey through spirit's eyes. So for me, one thing that I can't show you that because I've not uploaded it yet. Hopefully I'm going to put some footage of Gordon Higginson up where he's doing that. But what you can do is spirit can show you around their house. Spirit can take you on a journey, you know, the path they walked from their work to their home. And it's remote viewing through the eyes of spirit. It can be done. But remote viewing itself is a psychic tool, a psychic ability, so each person, you know, has to learn to develop that. Some people have it and some people don't. It's not always that easy. Evelyn, I appreciate your super chat donation. That is really very much appreciated. And Natalie C, I really appreciate your super chat donation too. And Jenny JB, thank you very much. All of it really helps. I'm very grateful for it. I need to show my appreciation. Very much appreciated. So next question. Now, hopefully, if anyone's, if you've just sent me a donation, but you've got a question, do let me know, because not that I can see it easily, because we're running out of time. I'm just trying to see if ideally, if you have a question you want me to answer, then do pop it in the super chat itself, because that makes it easier for me to see and answer. Otherwise, I'll have to try and hunt them down, which is not so easy. So where were we? I've lost my space again. Right, I'm back to where I was. Okay, I did a mediumship course in the Netherlands twice. In the course, I tried to connect, but it didn't work. Can it be that some people just cannot do it? As I say, it's a degree of ability that all people have. So some people have it stronger, some people have it less. Let me try and show you what I want to convey. Okay, this one here, it's a little graph. That is your ability of mediumship, and that is the time in development, or amount of development done. And what we've got here is the green line is someone who starts off from a very high level of natural ability. The black line is someone who starts off from 0 natural ability. So there's a difference. This person goes to their first class, can work really well. This person goes to their first class and can't do a thing. Now, I don't know if you're still getting my connection. Can you just type in the chat box if I'm still coming through? I can see I've got a circle going round and round on my screen. So I can see on my screen that I appear to be broadcasting again. This doesn't look like we've got the chat. So that I'm not sure if the chat's come back. So the technical gremlins have finally come in tonight and trying to scupper the evening. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to work my way through the remaining questions in the hope that you will be able to see and hear me. And we can cut that bit out in the middle. For some reason, it disconnected me and told me it couldn't reconnect. And I stopped the stream and restarted the stream. Had to go out of YouTube and come back in again. But it seems to have reconnected the stream, but not the chat, which is very, very frustrating. So I'm just going to work through the remaining questions, and hopefully I can finish these off, and any other questions we'll have to work through next time. So we're talking about Andrew's questions about whether or not if you try to do it twice, it's because you haven't got the ability. It just may be that you need to learn to build power. It may be that you've not learned to connect to the spirit world properly. It could be that the energy, just the time, the conditions were not right for you. I would say stay with it, keep going with it. Certainly you need to look at understanding building power and sitting for spirit. And you need to understand as well the connection to spirit, because a lot of people, you go to a course and no one tells you how to connect. As a student, it used to really irritate me that people would say, right, now make a link with spirit. And I'd be like, how do you make a link with spirit? I don't know how. And they couldn't explain it to me. So I determined all the different ways it can be done. And hence, that's why they're in my mediumship class 3. Let me see if I can just show you quickly my teaching videos. So I do have a whole bunch of teaching videos, what I call mediumship class teaching videos, classes 1 to 12, and then special topics, additional special topics as well. So connecting with spirit is class 3, all available as videos, downloads, and there are some DVDs still available if DVDs are your thing. They cost £12 each, so if that sounds of interest, you can check them out there. Let me come back to my screen. So also, I cover the fundamentals of connecting into spirit, making the connection in my fundamentals of mediumship my fundamentals of mediumship course, which you can buy from my website as well. So that you can check that out as well. That would help perhaps give you some clues. For me, I just found out that no one taught me how to do it. My results weren't great because I was expected to somehow pick it up or just be a natural at it or just do it. What we call the Nike method, just do it. So spirit do use our imagination, absolutely. All mediumship functions through our imagination, functions through that aspect. So, yep. Okay, in circles, many say the spirit has been with me since yesterday or since we started. I never experienced this. Can they truly link before circle reading begins? And should you do so? I don't. So yes, they can. So for example, if I'm doing a demonstration, I may send thoughts that tonight I'm doing a demonstration. I'd like it to go well and and all of a sudden there's a spirit communicator there and it's like, okay, so your dad, you're coming through for your daughter. Okay, I recognize you. Please come back when it's time. Sometimes if I'm doing a sitting or a couple of sittings, I may be having a shower and I'm aware people want to come forward for the sittings. Again, I ask them to step back. So yes, it can happen. Absolutely. If that person knows their loved one's coming, spirit's a little bit keen, a little bit excited, wants to let you know they're there, wants to let you know they want to communicate so that you'll work with them. It can happen. Absolutely. Should you do it? Generally, when you're learning to develop your mediumship, I always say you shouldn't. And I'll tell you why. Because if you start collecting information early, and then you make a link with spirit and it's not the same link and you can't differentiate the spirit communicator, you'll mesh evidence from memory with evidence you're getting in the moment and none of it will fit. So you see people go and do what we call open platform in the UK, whereby people get onto platform to work in front of an audience to do a link. And basically what happens is that they all start trying to connect in the audience and they get on platform and it's remembered information. And I can't assess how they're working because they're just telling me evidence from memory. And if they do that where they get two bits that are not connected, it all goes to pot. And I'll say, well, if you just stayed with the person now, all that evidence was correct. But you've just melded it and blended it with something that came from when you were down there, and that was another communicator, and you made a bit of a mess of it. You made a bit of a hash of it. So, yeah. So, should you do it? I don't recommend you do it. I recommend you always work in real time, and it enables tutors and teachers to work with you. But definitely it can happen. So what would you suggest to handle gifts your kids have currently, teens? Certainly we can talk to teenagers about spiritual development. We can talk to them, they can meditate, do mindfulness, all those kinds of things. But I personally wouldn't recommend they go into development and try and learn to work with it at that point. Engage their spirituality, their spiritual side of things, but they don't necessarily need to work with it. Meditation is a tool that children can work with, but again, I wouldn't necessarily have them trying to meditate and get information from spirit. So again, let them do it, let them come to it in their own time. But I get that, yeah, if the gifts are there, you often want to encourage it. You can encourage it in a gentle, subtle way, but not overtly, I would say. I know some people who want their children to develop as mediums for their own needs. It has to be always for their needs. So that's important to recognize. Okay, so Claude, your question that I write my guys daily, confident in the connection. They sometimes will lead me towards a teacher or something. Now, we can be inspired by spirit. Now, absolutely, spirit can influence and guide us to go to teachers or to do things. And sometimes it's spirit, sometimes it's our own soul. Remember, your soul is knowledgeable. Your soul contains so much knowledge that we can be inspired of our soul to do things. Our guides and helpers could inspire us as well. So absolutely, I get all of that spirit direction. Now I know what you mean by spirit direction. The penny has dropped. I get you now. So yeah, it's the spirit influence, the spirit guidance in our lives. It exists. Sometimes you'll know that you have to do this or go there, but you don't know why. And it's not until later that it all falls into place and you see, now I know. I get that, yeah. So absolutely, yes. Often it comes though from your own soul. Your own soul knows the value of experiences to you and guides you and draws you towards them if we only open to the inspiration that comes from our own soul. So I hope that helps, Claudia. Sorry I misunderstood you. So yeah, thank you, Sheila, for your donation, and Alessandra, Eduardo, Claudia, ES and Evelyn, and Natalie and Jenny. Very, very much appreciated. Obviously, there is no chat functioning at this moment in time. If you do want to make a donation, if you've enjoyed the class and you want to make a donation, then by all means, you can make it through my PayPal Me page. If you go to the description in the video, in the live stream, there is a link there. All my YouTube videos, generally the recent ones, will have a link to my PayPal Me page. So with yes, you've asked a question about your children. Children are naturally open to spirit. That's the thing to bear in mind. Your children may talk about their spirit friends. Your children may talk about seeing their granny, seeing people in the family. Now, for me, accept it. Accept it's happening. Never try to stop it. Never try to suppress it. But equally, be careful that you don't make such an interest of it that you want them to do it all the time. Just accept it, recognize it happens, but I don't think we need to encourage it necessarily. Oh, is Granny around you? Where's Granny? Has Granny got a message for me? We don't want your 5-year-old to become the medium to you. That's what I'm trying to explain. I mean, not necessarily in a good way, but I hope that does explain it. So absolutely, children naturally have these abilities. We just need to accept it, and we need to not suppress it, but not necessarily push it neither. Just accept it exists naturally. And when the time is right, it will unfold in its own time. You don't have to unfold it. When the time is right and the conditions are right, they will unfold naturally. So Claudia, you asked spiritual conference or assessment. Spiritual assessment. A spiritual assessment is a specific type of reading whereby someone goes, it's often known as a spiritual appraisal, spiritual assessment. People go to a medium, and I'd like to do them in person only. I don't normally do them online. I like to, it's what we call psycho-spiritual. It's part mediumistic, part psychic. So because of that, I like to have the person's energy in the room with me, and we look to see their journey of unfoldment, their journey of spiritual development, what potentials there are near the surface, what is the next area to be worked on, those types of things. We may sometimes give them information about their guides or helpers. We may give them a guidance on direction and what's there to be developed, what spirit would like to develop. That's what we mean by spiritual appraisal, spiritual assessment. I do believe you can book them through the Arthur Findlay College website, I believe. I know some mediums do them online. I personally don't. I know Helen DeVito's brought out a book on the spiritual assessment, which I think is a very good book, what little I've seen of it, but check that out if you want to know more about them. Highly recommend that. She's also another good medium, Arthur Findlay College tutor. She's got a lovely channel on YouTube as well. Check that out, Helen DeVito. And she also has a sitting in the power meditation on there as well. So I believe now I've come to all of your questions because the chat is broken and I cannot get the chat reconnected for more questions. And it has come to 9 o'clock. So maybe Spirit broke it deliberately just so I'd finish at 9 o'clock. I'm not sure that happens or not. It's just the gremlins. I don't really know what went wrong. This is my first ever live stream. I did a few trials myself just to check the technology. I think I had it cracked, but obviously I hadn't. But I know even experienced live streamers hit such challenges. I think we probably did very well to get to about an hour and 30 minutes without any challenges, to be honest. So yeah, so thank you to all of you who came to the live stream class this evening. I do hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's helped you. I hope to see you at the next one. I'm intending to run one a month. That is my plan. So I will post again on YouTube, in Facebook, and in those who are on my subscriber list. You can subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll let you know when I will be doing them. Also, if you're not a subscriber to the channel, do subscribe to the channel. Do hit the like button. Do hit the notification bell, and you get notifications of all my videos as well. Do check out all the other videos on the channel. There's a lot there, a lot of good content worth looking at. And also check out my store, my website. Links are in the description below. Look at the courses I offer, see if there's anything that appeals. And so, yep, so I'm grateful that you've all come along. Grateful that you've been here this evening. And I hope you've enjoyed it. Hope you got a lot from it. And look forward to seeing you again in the next one. Take care.